Green light. Good morning, everybody. Gary from the DenverGuitarOrchestra.com, and we are in the process of getting fired up to do today's broadcast of Books 1, 2, 3, and a little bit of Segovia scales, which I'm working on, trying to get better at. And so let me go post this over on our website. Website's DenverGuitarOrchestra.com. And every day, Monday through Friday, we meet here and we play through everything in the different programs that each person is working on and trying to get to be better guitar players. Today we're playing Row, Row, Row Your Boat, one of my all-time favorites. Ain't Gonna Rain No More. It's a pretty fun little song. And then for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, which turns out to be harder to play than you wish it would be. Similar to Happy Birthday. It's just one of those songs. It's like, what? Why is this so hard? https://denverguitarorchestra.com. Nice. And then we put on a front page here. We go grab our logo and put that on there. And we tweet that. And so we're on Twitter now. So we're super famous. And let's see, what else? You may. I hope that's somebody real. Every once in a while somebody follows me on Twitter. I'm like, that's weird. All right, today, Wednesday, so we'll start out with our Segovia scales. And I was going to get a classical song of the week up, but we have a short week this week, so I think I may have to put that off and start that program next week. Haven't quite figured that all out yet. I'm still trying to work in the timing of all this stuff. Let me see here. I've got the website up and running. It looks like I'm broadcasting. I've got us tweeted. All right, so let me just make sure the website is doing what I think it does. Clicks open this to guitar lesson number 272. Perfect. So we're in good shape. Earlier this week we started Segovia scales and the A minor pattern, and it's really, really hard. So we'll be working on that for the next forever. Nancy's in. Good morning, Nancy. Sound is good. Hope your roofing went well yesterday. Roofing project went really well. I was able to say, get it done at the end of that. So I think we're in great shape on that roofing project. I'm really excited about that and hoping that it goes as smoothly as it appears that it's going to go. So thanks for asking, Nancy. Evelyn's in. There's a phone call. People should have memorized at this point that I am busy from 10 to 2 every day. Evelyn, sounds good. It's 66 degrees, partly sunny yesterday. So how was the roof inspection? Yeah, so what we're doing, we have a roof. Nobody knows how old it is. It's probably at least 20 years old, maybe 30. And who knows? Nobody knows. Nobody in the building that I've talked to has any recollection of any work ever being done on the roof. And it's a pretty good roof, but there are some places starting to leak. And when we are spending, $6,000 a pop to fix each of the leaks, after a while you're like, you know what, let's just put a whole new roof on. It'll be way cost effective. So it's this stuff, they pour it on and it turns to rubber or something, and I don't quite understand the physics behind it, but yeah, the majority of it's a month-long project. The majority of the time is just cleaning up the old roof, right? And getting all of the weird spots on it straightened out. And then after that, then they just come in. It takes about an afternoon. They pour the whole entire roof. So we'll have all these guys coming and going, bringing all this stuff up. And there's two parts of the roof. There's the part you can walk on, which is the part I'm worried about. And then there's this other part that they have to do first. So it's about a month-long project. And, it's $100,000 worth of money. So it's not exactly inexpensive. Pauline, good morning, in from Northern California. Vic is in from cloudy Eugene. Today in Denver, we are, I'd say, partly cloudy. And beautiful this morning. Absolutely perfect weather. It was rained yesterday afternoon. Was chilly this morning up in northern Colorado. We had what in Denver we call a massive rainstorm yesterday. It lasted about half an hour, and it rained pretty hard. I, of course, was wandering the streets at that exact time. So, for those of you guys who live in other parts of the country, are like, yeah, don't talk to us about rain. Let's see, or certainly. Evelyn down there in Ecuador is like, yeah, you don't know rain. All right, let's grab that Segovia pattern. We have moved on to measure 2. I want to just work on doing the up part for a little while. I want to make sure that we get that pattern in our heads. So measure 2 all the way down to the first note in measure 3, and then next week we'll start doing the down, and then obviously eventually we'll put them both together. But start with your middle finger on the A. That's 5 on the 6th string, okay? And so, I'm sorry, not your middle finger, your index finger. You're in 5th position. Let's just go through it real slow and see if we make sense. So we're going to do this. A, 7 is B, C is on 8, and 5, 7, 9. Okay, and you will switch positions to 9th position when you get to the F sharp. And 11, 12, and then it sound weird, and then you're going to go to 9 and 10. Oh, I'm on the wrong notes. That's why it's sounding so weird. I went to 8th position instead of 9th position. Let me start over. I apologize. From the bottom, 6th string, 5th fret. Play that. 5, 7, 8, 5, 7. Now go to 9, Gary. Oh. Okay, then 9, 10, 12 on the next string. 9, 11. 9, 10, 12. And then, at 9, I got to remember this, 9 on that string, second string, 9 slides to 10th position. 12, 13, 10, 12. I'm going to slide to 14th position, 16, and 17. Okay, so I'd like to do it again. So there are 3 places you move. At the F sharp, you also then move again at the next A, and then you move finally at the high, what is that? E, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, or the high F sharp as well. Okay, so you're always going to move on your, not always. Yeah, not always. The low F sharp and the high F sharp you're going to move. All right, from the bottom, one more time. You're flex sealing your room. Yeah, it's this. I'm sure that it's super great for the environment. I'm positive, right? Is this stuff you pour this on and it magically turns into something else? That's probably probably developed in a chemical factory somewhere. From the top, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slide up. Slide up. Okay, so now going back down, we will be on different frets. So I do think it's worth our time to just spend this week memorizing this pattern going up, so that when we are coming down, we will have we'll be hitting some other notes, because as you see going up, their sharps on F's and G's are all sharps. Coming down, those F's and G's will all be naturals, and so that will mean we are hitting different frets. I'd like to do it one last time just to see if I can start to memorize this pattern. Ready? Eek. All right, so that'll be a lot to memorize. That alone would be enough to memorize, spend the week. So we'll see how we're doing on Friday on that. How about that? So, all right, there's another scale. Guys, I was going to start our classical track this week, and I'm just probably not going to get that together. I have the sheet music finished, but I haven't played through it enough to make sure there's no typos in there. So we'll probably just start that classical track next week. So we'll have book 1, book 2, book 3, and then a classical song for the week. We probably won't play the classical song every day. We'll probably play it on Monday and then on Friday so that you have the week to work on it, and use it as your warm up or whatever. That's my thought on that. We'll see how it works out. All right, next up, let's go grab Row, Row, Row Your Boat out of book 1 and see how we're doing on that. So, those of you who are newer, right, D chord, index finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, ring finger out in front, 3rd fret, 2nd string. Try to play from just the D string down. If you hit the 5th string, it's okay. Complex, but the D chord is ideally played from 5 down. Okay, and then let's go. Let's play it through twice. First time on your chords, I'd like first time for you to give me strums 1, 2, 1, 2, and then the second time through with plex 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going to play the melody. We're going to play a lovely duet together 2 times through. 1, 2. Okay, now you'll play the melody. Okay, I will sing the melody and I will play the chords 2 times through. 1, 2, I'm sorry, 2 beat count in. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, oh 2, 2, oh 2, 3, 5, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 5, 3, 2, oh 3, again, 3, I blew it, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, oh 2, 2, oh 2, 3, 5, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 5, 3, 2, oh 3. All right, I was not thinking 6 and I was thinking 2 and then all of a sudden I was in a mess. All right, there's that. So those are chords and the melody. Let's play the tough acts together. Let's walk through it one time. Make sure you know what you're doing with your fingering, and then we'll play it through a couple times. So grab your D chord, 3 strings down, 0, 2, 3. And again, and again. Middle finger up, middle finger down. Strum it the whole thing again. Middle finger up, middle finger down. Pinky finger on the 3. Slide forward to the 5. Hit the 2nd string and the 3rd string. Okay, grab both 10s. And then your middle finger's on the 11. And then go jump all the way down to your D chord at 6 and play 3 strings. And then play the strings 4, 3, and 2 on there. And then 5 on the pinky. And the 3. Okay, and then that's that. Let's give it a try. I think playing plucks on measures 5 and 6 sounds the best, but you can make your decisions. I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna do thumb on everything except 5 and 6, and then I'm gonna pluck 5 and 6. 1, let's do it 2 times through. 1, 2, it's a 2-beat count in. 1, 2. Right? Row your boat. There's a lot on that page. It's really, for those of you who are newer, you could do yourself a favor by really spending a lot of time digging into that piece of music right there. And if you've been around a while, you're like, that's everything we have to do in all the advanced pieces. So yeah, don't underestimate the power of row your boat. Let's go grab Ain't Gonna Rain No More. We worked on this last week, so we won't over study Ain't Gonna Rain No More. As all of you guys know at this point, book 2 is 2-chord songs. That's the purpose of it, and it's mainly to get you comfortable switching from chord to chord. We of course play everything all 3 ways as well in book 2, but the focus in book 2 is getting comfortable changing chords, and then continuing your understanding of tough acts and guitar melody lines. Okay, let's sing it. Get your D chord and your A chord. That's A7. One of the thoughts that I had, and I worked on this yesterday with ukulele players, is if you've got a chord coming that you know it's hard to get on. So for example, you're on A and you got to get to D and you know it's going to take you a minute. Stop strumming a little bit before the end of the previous measure so that you're in good position by the first beat of the next measure. So if you have trouble getting A on, you might sing, ain't gonna rain no more, no more. Ain't gonna rain no more. You sing a little bit louder and don't strum while your hand is moving over there. That's going to happen if you're not falling asleep and you're paying attention. The next chord coming up is like, oh gosh, that's a tough chord. I'm going to get off of the current chord and get onto the next chord so that I'll be fully in place by the first beat of the next time when that chord shows up. Let's give it a try. 2 times through. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it ain't gonna rain no more, no more. Ain't gonna rain no more. So how in the heck can I wash my neck if it ain't gonna rain no more? Well, a peanut sat on a railroad track. Heart was all aflutter. Then along came a train roaring down the track. To peanut butter. Oh, it ain't gonna rain no more, no more. Ain't gonna rain no more. So how in the heck can I wash my neck if it ain't gonna rain no more? Well, I had a goat down upon our farm, ate up old tin cans, puked up its guts on a Friday night, and out came Ford sedans. Okay, and then obviously the smart thing to do is to end And probably when I rewrite this, I will put a fine in the middle of measure 8. You really do need to end with Ain't Gonna Rain No Mo, right? You got to start with that and end with that. And then DSL fine. I'll add that in as a new instructional information for people. That's just what you want. In song 2 of book 2, we introduce you to DSL fine, and that's exactly where you want to get that kind of information. You're like, oh, I'm just trying to get from D chord to A chord. That's it. So there's that. Let's play the melody. Again, I think always grabbing the chord usually is the best idea. Not always. This song you could probably get away with playing it positionally because it's a lot of 2s and 3s. You might be overworking yourself by holding the chord. From the top, 1, 2, 3. Case, peanut butter, out came Ford's a dance. It's just one note, and you'll when you doing pop music or folk music, rather than having 87 pages, we'll just force the lyrics in there, and you're supposed to know to hit your note twice. You can tell almost certainly this song would not have been written on a piano. On piano, you don't go 3, 3, 3, 3, or in this case, D note, D, 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 A, right? We don't usually play piano that way. So this was probably written on a guitar, where we do that, where you'll hold the chord for a while and you're singing along, and often sometimes you maybe aren't the best singer or not really thinking about melody. And so when you see a song like this, and most pop music is like this, where the same note will happen over and over and over, and then you change chords, and then there's a new note that happens over and over and over. So you don't find it as much on music written on piano, because your tendency on piano is you hit this note, your next thought is, I'm going to hit a different note. And so they're usually, when you're writing music, pianos tends to promote a more melodic line. Let's grab the tough acts and see how we do. We'll take our time. It's again grabbing that D chord and grabbing the A7 chord. Most of the notes are going to cooperate with you that way. From the top, very slow. 1, 2, 3. Start from the top. 1, 2, 3. 12, 11, 10, 10. Like you can also do that as your ending note. There we go. So that's additional lyrics. I think we probably talked about that on Monday. The additional lyrics are there. That's very typical in commercial sheet music, where they will put just additional lyrics down there. By the time you study the song, you're supposed to know how it goes, and then mostly a song like this you're going to sing anyway. Songs with tons of lyrics are meant for singing rather than instrumental play, and so you will get your friends together, right? There ain't no bugs on me. No, there ain't no bugs on me. Some of you mugs got a lot of them bugs, but there ain't no bugs on me. Right? And all of those verses on that page are hilarious and very funny. I noticed in my lesson here that I'm supposed to talk about dotted notes. If you look at measure 4, you have a half note with a dot after it. That dot increases I said this to a little kid one time. Well, the dot increases the length of the note by 50%. And he looked at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. So in this case, on measure 4, you have a half note and it's worth 2 beats, but the dot makes it worth 50% more, so now it's worth 3 beats. And if you look down at measure 10, there's a dotted quarter note. Measure 10 is a quarter note is usually worth 1, but because it's got a dot after it, it's worth 1.5. And it's very typical when you do a dotted quarter note. Pretty much, not in all of the time, but a whole lot of the time, you'll see an eighth note follow that right after that, because that's a half beat, right? And so the total of the measure stays 4, but you've got the first note, railroad, is 1 beat, and then 1 beat. Track is then 1.5 beats, and it's followed up by it's, which is a half beat, so that you end up with your total of 4 beats in every measure. For those of you guys with no music background at all, that's sort of a lot. And for those of you who with some music background, you're like, yeah, I know that. So important stuff in terms of knowing how long to hold your notes when you start a new song. The weakness of tablature, there's no way for you to know exactly how long a note is. That's why I include standard notation on everything, and why you end up having to learn a little bit about it. You don't have to learn everything about it, but a little bit. Let's see. Vic says, hey, that feels pretty good. Nice. Isn't it good when you have a song and you play it and you're like, yeah, I got that. That's pretty good. Last night I did my recordings for Metro State. I only have to turn in 3, but I decided I would do all 6. I would do the 5 pieces of music that he's recommending plus the scale, and I got everything done except that lesson 61, which has that crazy motion there at the end, and I'm gonna have to memorize the last few measures of that song, because I just cannot get my fingers up there quickly enough. And so last night it felt pretty good until lesson 61, and then I felt like I was the worst guitarist ever in the history of the world. So it comes back to haunt you. All right, book 3, let's go grab For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. And my sheet music is littered with some measure notes and things to talk about on this. First thing is, the main thing to talk about on this one is that you're going to stop playing this song in the middle of measure 4. So we're going to play down, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And notice there's a fermata in the middle of measure 6, which nobody can deny. And that's where you're going to end the second time. But the first time through, you keep going, which nobody can deny, which nobody can deny. And then you're going to come back to the top. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. Big fermata there, which nobody can deny. And so you'll ritardando on the second time through. Second time. And some sheet music would notate that. I think others would just leave it off. You're supposed to know you slow down. In this case, you slow down a lot, which nobody can deny. And I like to, obviously, I could have just pasted this top part onto the bottom part of the song. There's plenty of room for it. But it's more fun to learn how to read senios and fines and all of that stuff. So that's why the song is arranged the way it is to actually, give you a chance to learn how to do that. Important pieces of fanciness on here. Measure 1 has that senio. That's the S. Whenever you see that, at some point in the song you're coming back to that S. And so usually on sheet music, I will take a highlighter and I'll just highlight that because my eyeball at some point is going to need to track to that spot. And senios can show up anywhere. In this case, it happens to show up in measure 1, but it could show up anywhere in the piece of music. So when you're reading a piece of music the first time, notice where your senios show up and put a little highlighter right on top of them because that's you'll be back. Next thing I'm looking at this song is surprising number of chords in a surprisingly short amount of space. D, G, D, and A7. We'd expect that, right? We're in the key of D, so D, E, F, G, and A are his friends, and this goes all the way back into book 1 when we learn D, G, and A chords, and at the end of that we talked about writing songs. D, G, and A go together really nicely, so that makes perfect sense that we'd have those in this piece of music. We also have a weird spot at measure 7 where you go from a D, which is the main chord, to a D7, which is not typical. If it's the main chord, it's not typical to have a 7th chord also hanging around with it. It's very typical to have an A7, but a D7 is unusual. And what happens there, for he's a jolly fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly, you can hear the tension in there, jolly good fellow. So that main D turns into a D7, which is weird, in order to resolve to a G. And think about that, G, A, B, C, D. So D7 and G are friends, and so that D7 is pushing you into that G7, creating some tension and then resolving it there at G. And then you go back to the main chord, D, A7, D, G, D, D, G, D, and you get to the end of measure 12. That's not really the end of the song, and you go back and do another D chord. So things for the most part make sense, except that D7 in measure 5 is sort of unusual. And of course, when something's unusual, it usually means it's a little hard to play. You're on that D chord, and then you're going to have to get the D7 in there right away. And those are not particularly easy chords to switch between because you really do have to pull everybody off, get them out of the way, refinger, and put them back down. Something you'll get used to because normally when you're playing in the key of G, you end with D's and D7, so you will see them together. It's just odd that they're in the main chord on this particular song. What else do I need to write about? All right, that's it. So let's sing a song. Think of your favorite fellow, and he's jolly and good today. 1, 2. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. Pay attention to the fermata there. Which nobody can deny. Which nobody can deny. Which nobody can deny. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. Which nobody can deny. And of course, if you are in a group of people that are actually going to sing this, you will be playing it at their speed because everybody knows the words, right? And so that will get away from you pretty quickly as an instrumentalist backing up a group. You have to do their speed. Same thing with Happy Birthday. Once people start singing it, we have an agreed upon amount of time that fermata can last in Happy Birthday. Same thing with For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. You can make that go for a while, and probably depending on how many ales they've had at the pub that determines how far that fermata goes on. But if you're with a group of people who are a little more rational, they'll make that fermata respectably a little bit longer and then keep moving forward. So that's not probably the chances of you playing this with a group of people is relatively small, but you might, who knows. Let's play the melody. I see 2s, I see 3s, I don't see anything else until I get down to the fermata, and then I'm going to be in 7, right? So my first thought when I see 7s is to go to 5th position, because then that covers my 7s and my 5s, and then I can get back more easily. So probably 5th position when you see those 7s coming, and I think that's probably going to be the smart place to be. All right, from the top, 1, 2. That D note there, you notice in the tough axe line, there's a 0 in the middle of measure 8. You probably want to finish on that note. Bong, right? It's funnier that way. All right, let's go grab the tough uke line, tough axe. Grab your D chord, as we do with all fingerstyle. Hit the 3, and then a strum a D. 2 2 0 2. Just move your middle finger when you need to. And then I have written 003, but there's no reason not to just go ahead and grab the full G chord and strum the whole thing. And then back to your D chord. It's A7. I don't know why I didn't give you the A note on the bottom. It should just be a regular A7. 02020. Hit the 3. And then a D chord. Notice I didn't talk about it before. We were talking about music lengths earlier. At the end of measure 4, you have 16th notes, so it's really fast. Bum, bum, bum. When I see 16th notes, it looks like you're supposed to play 2 notes really fast, but you really need to play the note after a 16th note quickly as well. You got to get off of those 16th notes onto the next note in super quick time. So when you see 16th notes, normally in guitar when you see 16th notes, there'll be a whole page full of them, and then you'll notice the meter is set at 60 or 50. I've seen it down to 30, where they've got a whole lot of notes to fit on the page. So they'll use 16th notes, and then they will slow the meter down, because in the truth is, unless you're a professional, college trained, blah blah blah, you're not playing 16 notes at much higher speed than 60 or maybe 80, but you're not playing them up at 100 or 120, and it takes years of practice to get that kind of speed. So in this case, when you see 16th notes there, and you can tell that because they've got 2 flags on them, you have to play da da dum. 4 heaves. So don't relax after the 0 and then get around to the 2. You got to get all the way into that D chord at 5 quickly. Let's go from there. 1, 2. D7. Middle finger. Ring finger. G chord. And then slide up to the 7. Down to your G chord. And then I would just do a regular bar chord A7 here. Hit that D good. Hit that D good. Hit that one really loud. And keep going. G chord. And then back to the top. Hit the D note. Okay, there we go. I think the problem with fines is you sort of line them up about where you think you want to have them. I think I got it too close to the front of the measure. I need that fine right in the middle of the measure, so you count that bong. And I think you use your judgment there. I'm working on a piece of sheet music for Alex right now, and the fine is in the wrong spot. It's absolutely in the wrong spot, and I had a talk. I was like, I don't think we need those 2 quarter notes after this, and he goes, yeah, that doesn't sound good. Don't do those. So a little bit of that is using your musical sense, right, as to what you're going to do on a piece. Remember, sheet music is a recipe. It's not a rule book. Unless you're playing Beethoven and you're in the Berlin Philharmonic, then it's probably a rule book. But for most of us, use this as a recipe and use your smart artistic sense to create the best version of it. Let's play this through. Listen without stopping and without Gary talking. 1, 2. There's that. Probably, we don't talk about this often because I don't believe in it, but this is a case where you would probably want to get that faster than the funeral pace that we played it at. And so if you are going to do the tough acts, it's always going to be slower. It's always going to be more pensive and thoughtful on guitar. It just sounds nice that way. But I do think you want to play it faster than we just played it, right? You don't want to really play for "He's a jolly good fellow," which is fine, but it's not really what we're after. What we're after is for "He's a jolly good fellow," for "He's a jolly good fellow." So if you come to a point where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna master this song, push that pace a little bit. And I always tell people the same thing: don't push the pace until you really know how to play the song, like you're playing it pretty well, and that's when you can start pushing your tempo a little bit. But if you start pushing your tempo too early, it just makes playing the song kind of sad and unfun. So that's my thoughts on that. Boy, my phone is just going bananas. I must be very popular this morning. Thursday, that's tomorrow, right? Today's Wednesday, and they took the day of the week off of my updated this. Tomorrow, Segovia pattern again. Row your boat again. Alouette, we'll play a little. Go to France to France and play Alouette, and then we have Fur Elise tomorrow. And you guys will remember that is a surprising. It's challenging when we first attack it, and you can. And some days with Fur Elise it goes well, and some days it doesn't. As you know, Fur Elise is meant to be played on piano, so anytime you do that and you force it on a guitar, sometimes things get a little dicey. So there's that. Thursday night, remember we've got Beatles music, and so be pulling that out, messing through, playing with that each time you have a chance, and then of course Friday we have our weekend concert. I will get that classical song to you. I'm gonna at least post it, but we may not actually work on it until next week. I played through it enough to know that I think all of the typos are out of it, but with this stuff I want it to be as darn near close to perfect. So there we go on that. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Thanks for being here. Let's see, Liz says thanks for using only 4-string. Elizabeth has been messing around with using a baritone during these classes, and most of these, I don't know, I would say a good portion of them you can play on just 4 strings. But obviously it's a guitar, and I definitely like to take advantage of all 6 strings, so I don't think about that when I am arranging them. But this one happened to work out fine, probably because it started off as a ukulele song, right, Elizabeth? Evelyn, you are so studious. One more recording and you're set. I know, one more recording. Although it may be December by the time I get that recording done, Evelyn. Thank you for your enthusiasm. It turns out I can sit here and talk on, when we started these, I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to be playing live on YouTube, and at some point you just have to let it go. You're like, well, there's going to be mistakes, whatever. But when you're recording it for an academic purpose, you really want it as close to perfect as you can. Which, of course, whatever I get on tape will be embarrassingly terrible compared to theoretically how I'm playing next year and the year after. But you're still in this like panic mode of, oh, it's got to be right, it's got to be right. So I don't know how many times I've played lesson 61 at this point, and I do believe that I'm ready to get it knocked out, but last night it sure wasn't cooperating. So you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see some of you in harmonica, I'll see some of you in ukulele, and I will see some of you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon or evening or day or whatever you're working on there. Thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Pauline. Thanks, Vic. See you tomorrow.